Welcome Senior Class President Anchal Bahel.
Good evening, parents, faculty, friends, and of course, the Amity class of 2023. We all finally did it. We have reached the end of our 724 days of being Amity Spartans. We would not be here today if it weren't for all those who supported us along the way. Thank you to the Amity administration, faculty, the Board of Education, parents, community members, and all those who have and will continue to support us on our journey. Many graduating classes will not remember what is special about their 132nd day of school. But for us, March 13, 2020 is what would have been our 133rd day of high school. And I'm sure many of us would give up anything just to go back to that day. We were preparing for our final quarter of our freshman year, anxiously awaiting our first ever experience with final exams, excitingly anticipating what we thought would be a mini spring break, but it just turned into an early summer vacation instead. We were all so caught up in the future and what it could look like instead of focusing on what is currently happening. So today, not only are we graduating high school, we finally get to conclude our unfinished freshman year as well by being all together here as a class. Walking through the gauntlet during Link Crew orientation was the first experience for us as Spartans. Many of us entered the large gym only knowing half of our class and looking up to our Link leaders to lead the way. At that moment, none of us knew what friendships would cultivate, who we would cross paths with, or the multitude of memories we would make together. That day was our first experience together in hopes of beginning the journey to become a united class. But it didn't stop there. We attended our first football game, took midterms for the first time, and made our first friend from the opposite middle school. And in between all that, we also had our first normal homecoming. Through all those experiences, we kept looking forward to the next big event, sometimes to the point where we lost sight of soaking in the everyday encounters during our 9th grade journey. Connecting with new teachers, joining our first club or sport, or even buying school lunch for the first and probably not last time, without the thought crossing our minds that we would adorn masks and keep our distance just a few months later. And let's be honest, sophomore year was kind of a blur. Behind a mask, and even without lunch in school, errors on the floor, along with mask breaks for the entirety of sophomore year. Junior year, we came back to school with some normalcy, but we existed in a perpetual state of anticipation with one question in mind. When would everything finally go back to normal? Instead of focusing on what the world was or what we want it to be, it was also important for us to be present and live in the moment, and as we did, make the most of our situation. The pre-pandemic days where we would congregate in the halls before the first bell turned into us driving into school with a parking lot full of decorated spots that will stay there for a lifetime. It's small experiences like those in the halls that we never knew would get taken away from us. Although we were never able to have those small traditions across our 4 years, we now know the value of those lifelong memories for which we recognize the value and how precious those days really were. Hold on to those moments, as it taught us that in those moments, it was more important than ever to be present, mindful, and happy to create long-lasting memories and relationships. Throughout high school, we've been so fixated on what we want life to be without thinking how uncertain the future really is. I want to encourage all of you to take this moment to look back and appreciate how far we've come along and We've come here today on this very special day to conclude our chapter as Spartans. And maybe it took a global pandemic to teach us that. In March of 2020, we were still anxiously awaiting to learn what would happen with Q4 and the next school year. Instead of thinking too far ahead or being stuck in the past, we should have taken a step back and recognized what is around us. One lesson that is evident is that too much anticipation of the future can distract us from living in the moment. And I'm proud to say that we did make strides to embrace living in the present throughout the second half of our Amity experience. Whether that was being the first class to have a normal prom post-pandemic, watching our teachers and some students getting pied in the face during Spring Fest, or even decorating our parking spots before the last day of high school. And don't forget the rainbow at Amity's first ever senior sunset to begin this week off in a celebratory way as a united class. We truly embrace the present, which will continue to be important beyond our high school years. And I'm very proud to say that we're a class of new traditions and experiences. And as we branch off from Amity and enter the next stages of our lives, stop and smell the roses. You may wonder, why is it so important to live in the moment and be present? Well, it's what keeps us connected to ourselves and therefore grow stronger bonds with each other. From this day on, let's collectively smell the roses to truly soak in the little memories, the shared laughter, the heartfelt conversations, and the simple joys that make life worth living. These are the moments that will sustain us during times of uncertainty, the memories that will bring warmth and comfort to us when we face challenges, and the reminders of our strength and resilience as a whole. In fact, there may have been memories we each created during those first 132 days of freshman year that sustained us through the isolation of the pandemic. And those connections we formed allowed us to make these last 181 days of high school the best 181 days of our lives. The pandemic did happen to us for a reason, as it showed us that during our first few months here at Amity, much of our time was spent fixating on what the product of high school would be and where we would end up in the next chapter of our lives. Rarely did we take many opportunities of enjoying the beautiful and unpredictable journey. Today, we're not leaving Amity with lost events or memories, but we're moving on to the next stages of our lives with experiences, communities, and friendships to make the next phase of our lives even better. We now know that by appreciating the moment we're in and not just anticipating what is to come, we can shape life to what we want it to be, fulfilling and successful. It's been an honor serving as your class president for these past few years at Amity. Thank you all for giving me the chance to help us live in the moment and be present with one another. As you take that next step, also take some time to embrace who you are and enjoy each step you take in your new path. Focus on living in the moment and not solely looking to achieve the milestone. Reflect on what you have accomplished, the people around you who have and will always support you, and the position you find yourself in today. Because right here, right now, is exactly where you're meant to be. Congratulations to the Amity class of 2023.